Hello, welcome to the Home Podcast. I'm Bill Terrell, licensed acupuncturist and herbalist, and I want to give a real quick video on something that I find is one of the most important things that I talk to people about in the clinic and in their lives. We all know that we need to hydrate. It's hammered into us by a lot of different sources, doctors, sports drinks, athletic trainers, and so forth. Unfortunately, most people don't really understand how hydration works, and honestly, I don't think most doctors understand how hydration works, because the most important thing you do is you need to replace what you lose. And when you urinate and when you actually move and you sweat and you have bowel movements, you don't just lose plain water. You actually lose water with a lot of nutrients and a lot of electrolytes and so forth. Many people know about sweating out those electrolytes. You need to get your electrolyte drink to replace it. Unfortunately, almost all of the ones at the grocery store are actually quite toxic, filled with corn syrup and food colorings. Gatorade's yellow food coloring is actually an herbicide, so probably not a great idea to be rehydrating with an herbicide. So anyway, one of the things that I've been doing for decades is getting people to stop drinking plain water, because plain water, unfortunately, doesn't hydrate you. It actually swells you for the few minutes that the water is in your body. The body doesn't like having all that extra water because it really wanted the electrolytes and the nutrients, the proteins, the sugars. And of course, we don't really need to add more sugar in our life, so most people don't even need to add anything sweet when they're drinking. They should actually have just savory drinks, teas, and so forth. But anyway, so instead of actually drinking just plain water, I tell people to get electrolytes in their water. Now, it is becoming a bit of a fad to make your own electrolyte drinks, and there are some really great recipes out there. They're a little bit more complicated, something you're probably not going to do, throughout the day, something that we do at our household in the summertime when we're using a lot of electrolytes. We're sweating outside in the heat. And we will actually make an electrolyte drink. It's fabulous. It's actually organic tart cherry juice, lime juice, organic lime juice, a little bit of salt, and organic honey. It's actually honey from our own bees. And then mix that all up and let it stew for a little while so it gets nice and rich. And then you basically use that as a drink. Now, it's going to have more energy and more calories because of the sugar. So we tend to offset that with the other thing that I tell people to do every day, and it's what I pretty much drink most of the day. And what that is actually tea water. Now, tea water is when you actually have flowers and other herbs that steep easily into water. They basically lose their nutrients into water very easily, like the flowers just fall into the water. And when you do that, you're actually taking the electrolytes and the nutrients out of the leaves and out of the flowers, and you're actually putting it in the water. And then when you drink that water, you take those nutrients in. So the Zinger teas, for instance, this is actually Raspberry Zinger by Celestial Seasonings. Very inexpensive, very easy to travel with. And it basically has red clover, rose hips, and hibiscus flowers. And all three of those are actually medicinal in addition to having the wonderful ability to hydrate your body very quickly. So what happens is when you take a glass of pure water and you drop, and hopefully it's reverse osmosis water because that's actually the cleanest water you can buy, and you drop that tea bag in, you're going to actually hydrate it very quickly into what we call tea water in my house. And when you start drinking this instead of plain water, you're going to notice immediately that you're less thirsty, that you're more hydrated, and that you urinate less. And that is a great trio of knowing that you're actually putting in the fluid in your body. Another way to look at hydration that's very important is, and it's very simple, if your mouth is dry, you did something that dehydrated you. If your mouth is moist and you have plenty of moisture when you're talking and your lips are actually moist, then whatever you're eating or drinking is actually hydrating you. And if you want that vacillate throughout the day, you can watch it. I joke, there's a great Mexican restaurant in our town that's very, very tasty, but every time I eat it, I am way thirsty for hours afterwards because they have a lot of salt in their tacos. So anyway, when you actually see that balance, then you can decide, well, you know what, I've been plenty hydrated and I feel really good. Maybe even have a little too much water because I've been a little too moist. And so you can have that salty meal. But if you actually eat that salty meal every day, you're going to end up more and more dehydrated, right? A lot of fast food, almost all the fast food, honestly, is extremely dehydrating. It's actually one of the worst things you could do is eat fast food. So anyway, that simple nature of just watching how your mouth is, and when you eat a meal, if you're constantly needing to drink to wash down the meal, then it's a drying meal, and it's probably something you should only eat every now and then. On the other hand, if your mouth is quite moist as you're eating some beans and some yams, and you're having some nice stewed meat, and you're having a soup or stew, then you actually have my hydration in your mouth, and you actually say, okay, I'm hydrating while I'm eating. I don't even need to drink any water or fluids because I've done that with it. So, you know, a lot of people understand that fruit often hydrates the person because, and guess what? It grows in the time of the year when you actually sweat more and you get dehydrated. So Mother Nature and us are in harmony when we eat the seasonal fruits. Now that means we should be eating them when they're in season, because if you eat cherries and you eat oranges in the middle of winter, you're going to actually create too much moisture because your body is not going to be able to use up that moisture properly. So anyway, I hope this gives you some good advice, and if you have questions, make sure you sign up as a paid subscriber and send me off those comments and questions, and we will get to more depth of it. So anyway, thank you for watching the Home Podcast.